What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here, some more fantasy football content. Today, I'm talking my early round decision series. There's been a ton of these out in the channel. If your draft is coming up, check these out. They will help you make those tough decisions. I literally just went up and down the first 3, 4 rounds of your fantasy football drafts and picked the absolute the hardest decisions for me to make and made a video on every single one explaining the decision that I would make. If you guys have any ideas or decisions you're struggling with, comment them down below. I'll make a video for you guys. Check out the rest of the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. My sleeper series is already out. My value series is already out. If you want to find the top sleepers and the top values to beat your friends and family in fantasy football, check out the videos already out on the channel. League winners coming very soon. Those are very popular, so go subscribe for those. And regular season content as well. They'll help you stay ahead of the pack. Redraft Dynasty, you got everything you need. One-stop shop for fantasy football. So hit that subscribe button if you want to beat your friends and family in fantasy football. Please like and comment the video. It really helps me out, guys. Love responding to comments. I respond to every single one of them. And like I said, if you have any fantasy football questions, I can answer them for you. Alrighty, so let's get into it. Puka Nacua versus Garrett Wilson. It's why you clicked on the video. Puka this last year finished as a wide receiver 4 overall in fantasy football, averaging 14.5 PPR point or half point PPR points per game, 14.5 points per game. Insane to consider a rookie finishing as a wide receiver 4. He broke the rookie record for receptions in a season, for yards in a season. Extremely impressive what he was able to accomplish, especially as a 5th round drafted rookie. A lot of people got him off their waiver wire last year. Now he's a borderline 1st round pick. One thing I did want to point out though, Puka Nacua last year had a 29% target share. That's exactly what you want when you're drafting one of these alpha receivers at the top of the draft. But I will point one thing out. When Cooper Kupp returned, so when Kupp was back on the field, Puka still out-targeted him, except when they were in the red zone. When they were in the red zone, Cooper Kupp was the number 1 again. And that does worry me a little bit when you're drafting these guys so high at the top of the draft. You have to nitpick at them a little bit. You have to find holes that not everybody else is looking at that differentiate them from these other elite players. That is the hole to me. The utilization in the red zone. Kupp and Stafford have a connection down there when things get short. He's such a good short area route runner. His quickness, his turns, things like that are just so tight. You can put the ball with spots. Nobody can get it to it. Nobody can do anything about it. But Puka is a really quality receiver, and he finished as a wide receiver 4 last year with only 6 touchdowns. So I'm still really not worried about that aspect of it. Again, it is a little bit of a nitpick, but that just means I'm not going to go out there and reject him for 10, 12 touchdowns this year. But I seriously think he could have no problem having 6 to 8 touchdowns or even 9 touchdowns next year. With the type of yardage that he gets, he should score more touchdowns already. And then you add in some good luck bouncing his way. I think that he could score more touchdowns, even if the utilization doesn't change. But I just, like I said, don't project him to be maybe a double-digit touchdown score. Now, he does have a slight injury, his balsa sac burst. It's the thing in your knee, basically. They do accept him back by week 1. I'm still willing to take the risk on Puka Nacua. I still like him. I think after, A.J. Brown is gone, Puka is probably my next wide receiver up. But yeah, that's probably where I am at in drafts. But let's move on to Garrett Wilson before I give you my final decision between these two players. So Garrett Wilson, last year, had a 30% target share, 46% air yard share. Those numbers are elite. That is what you're looking for when you're looking for a quality fantasy football wide receiver. And another thing I want to point out, he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. So he's extremely talented and he gets a ton of volume. The struggle for Garrett Wilson in past years has been the quarterback play around him. It's been abysmal. That's why you see 7 touchdowns over the last 2 years. But things are looking up for Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers, returning from his Achilles injuries, should be the New York Jets starting quarterback this year. They have a revamped offensive line with some veterans and some young players as well that they're hoping can, improve things for Rodgers, keep him healthy and upright. And if both of those things can happen, Garrett Wilson should be much better for fantasy football this season. I think Rodgers increases the touchdowns and efficiency for Garrett Wilson, even if we don't see anywhere close to the old Aaron Rodgers, just because of how bad this offense was. And that's one thing I will point out. I think people need to temper expectations for Rodgers a little bit. I think that's where people are getting a little too high on Garrett Wilson. Rodgers is close to a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injuries. Yes, he's the greatest quarterback of all time, but both those things do give me a little bit of concern. But even with that said, I have no doubt Rodgers is about to come back and be a very competent quarterback relative to what the New York Jets have had these last few years. So let me break down my projections for both these players now that I've talked about them a little bit. So for Puka Nacua, I have him projected for 94 receptions, 1,319 yards, and 7 receiving touchdowns. An excellent campaign for him once again. And Garrett Wilson, like I said, he's a supremely talented wide receiver. You can see his body movement, things of that nature, just how good he is. I do think the sky is the limit. I think the upside for Garrett Wilson, to me, is higher than it is for Puka Nacua. I think Garrett Wilson has the upside to finish as a top 3 wide receiver, maybe even the wide receiver number 1 overall, if the touchdowns can go his way. But I have Garrett Wilson projected for 90 receptions, 1,250 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. So they're neck and neck to me. If you're looking for safety, I would take Puka Nacua just because the type of production that he had as a rookie. You look at rookies typically take a year 2 leap heading into that second campaign for fantasy football, for football in general. I'm going to bet on that, the most successful rookie season we've ever seen, and head into year 2 betting on that. Now, if you're looking for the highest upside overall, I do think it's Garrett Wilson in this return. I just think it's got a lower floor for sure. I would take Puka Nacua personally, but like I said, you're not trying to come in second or third in your fantasy football league. You're trying to come in first. Garrett Wilson has the upside if he's your second overall pick to help you come number 1 in your league. Now I'll say this: if I let's say this is a first round pick, I'm picking Puka, and if this is round 2, I might lean up a little bit more Wilson. I still would take Puka, but with Wilson as my second player taken, I like the upside that he affords me a lot more, that number 2 player, than that number 1 player with his floor. But that is the video. Thank you guys for watching. Check out more of them on the channel already. Trey McBride versus Mark Andrews, Laporta versus Kelsey coming out soon. The McBride one is already out, McBride versus Andrews. Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Devontae Adams is out. Kyron versus ETN. Gibbs versus Taylor. Saquon versus Gibbs. Tons of good ones on the channel, so check all those out. Like I said, wide receiver sleepers, wide receiver values, running back sleepers, running back values, league winners coming soon. So check all that stuff out on the channel. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys so much for watching.